All right, let's just do a little exercise using a custom brush. This image here was just made with a tree brush and probably less than a minute. Just painted over a sky background like this. Okay, so to make a tree brush, and I'll include both of these things with the video, this image and this image. Okay, um, so this is a relatively low resolution picture of a tree. Let's see how big it is. Image size. It's 346 by 500 pixels. Okay, that should be plenty of information. So we're going to take this picture of the tree and use it as a brush tip, right? So this stuff down here we want to get rid of, okay, and just have the top of the tree. So I'm going to go to my crop tool, right, and go like this and like this. You really just want the top of the tree because having this repeated part of the forest down, having this forest part down here repeated in the brush is not going to help us any. I'm going to go up to about there, I think. Yeah. Check. And I'm going to also get my regular lasso tool. And these parts where they run off the bottom here, I think that's going to detract. So I'm going to go kind of like this and just hit the no feather, white, and maybe I'll delete this bottom branch down here. I'm just hitting the delete key and then select, deselect to get rid of that. All right, that doesn't look super great, but it's going to be okay. All right, now the brush tip doesn't include any colors, just black and white or grayscale. All the colors and whatever paint you use. Photoshop doesn't have brushes that impart color from the shape image. Okay, so we want to get rid of this. We can go image adjustments, desaturate, right, to make it grayscale image. And then it's a lot of, if it's 100% black, it's going to be putting down 100% of your paint. So, and this is pretty light. So we want to make it a little more contrasty and maybe a little darker. So image adjustments, let's try levels. Okay. So with levels, you have these 3 sliders here. All right. This is like, when we go into photo retouching, we'll talk about levels more, but this is a histogram here, right? This is basically a bar chart showing how many pixels of every color there is from black to white. Okay, so there's no pure black on here, right? There's a lot of dark stuff, which is, that. And there's a lot of stuff that's fading to white. And then there's a lot that's white or almost white. So what we can do is just move this down towards the middle, okay? So everything that's almost white, it's basically going to take everything that's in this area above the slider and push it to the right, if you can conceive of that. So everything that's almost white is now white. And I'm going to take this thing right up to this is a little sticky with my pen. Yeah, so pen tool and tablet have to have that for today. All right, and then this thing in the middle, you can slide the whole thing lighter or darker. All right, I'm gonna try, I don't want to lose too much detail on the tree though. I'm gonna try something like that, okay? All right, so there we have it, and let's go, that'll be our brush tip shape. And the brush, you don't want to use an image that's too big when you're doing this, but this is image size, and it's only 260 tall. So as long as it's under 500 pixels, it's probably fine. Bigger than that, it might, if it gets big, it's just going to work slower, and but it'll probably still work. I never tried a really big one. All right. let's go edit, define brush preset. Okay. On the older handout I have for this assignment, it says select all. Okay, so meaning either take the rectangular marquee tool or select all to select the whole image, but it appears that you don't need to do that anymore. Okay, Photoshop just works a little differently. So anyway, edit, define brush preset is probably it's called tree before, right? Because I had two. I saved one called tree after and tree before. You can just call it tree to. What is this? Okay, whatever. It doesn't really matter what it's called. So this is kind of big on here. Let's make a, and I think I can close this at this point. I'm not going to change anything. Let's go File, New, and just make like, if I go into print, a letter size page, 8.5 by 11 at 300 pixels per inch. Okay, so that's what we got, right? Which isn't very good for making a forest. So now we have to define all the actions into a brush preset, like scattering and stuff like that. Okay, that's mainly what we're looking at here. And again, of course, even though it's a weird shaped brush, you can use the bracket key or whatever to make it bigger or smaller. All right, I'm going to go to my brush palette. If I'm in the paintbrush, it should be right up here. It's also under brushes in the window, right? Menu. All right. So let's, under brush tip shape where we are right now, let's turn up the spacing a little bit. Okay, so it's not so tight. And let's go to shape dynamics. We want flip X jitter, right? So jitter just means randomness, right? We want, if it was flip Y jitter, half of the trees would be upside down. That's definitely not good. Okay, flip X jitter means it'll be left and right. Okay, we're trying to add some variation or randomness into this thing. So when we paint it, it looks like we're just putting a piece of a forest on there. Size jitter, let's turn that up somewhat. That's pretty good. And under size, the control should be pen pressure. So you can make a little forest or a big forest by how hard you push down on it. See, so it's a forest on snowy with a snowy field. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go to scattering. And we don't want it to scatter more when we push down, but let's turn it up a little bit so they're kind of a little more. It places them a little more randomly, so you don't want too much of it. Yeah, and so we don't want it to get, I mean, at least the way I'm conceiving of it, we don't want it to get lighter when you press down less hard. So we don't want to go into transfer. Both axes probably doesn't matter too much. Yeah. All right. So let's save the brush preset and then try that. Okay, you can always adjust it later, of course. So we go up here to the brush palette menu and new brush preset and call it, you know, my tree brush or whatever you want. Okay. Okay. So now it's saved, right? And when you close Photoshop, at least, I don't know about the Academic Sports Center. I mean, it won't work in the Academic Sports Center, but on your own machine at home or wherever, it'll remember this brush. Okay. And if you go to the brushes here, okay, you should see down at the bottom, there's the tree. It's probably just called tree JPEG if you didn't rename it. And here's my tree brush. So this one here, I'm going to delete that because there's no reason to keep that. And it's just kind of mucking stuff up. What you see up here might look different from yours and mine because we probably have different brushes. But anyway, there we have it. So now let's go to this background and of course make a new layer, right, to paint on top of. And make sure you have the right brush selected. Okay. So let's see. Let me see. Hide this thing. All right, so that's kind of cool, right? Oops. Just some random action going on. Okay, so we did the trees. We made a brush. So let's see what else do we have going on. Oh, all right. So let's try something different here. So now you want to go back to a regular round brush. I'm going to go here and I'll just go back to soft rounds. Just or just a regular, however you can get to a regular round brush. And I'm going to turn my opacity down quite a bit. And so what we can do, what I want to do here is, where is this thing? See, it's kind of hard to tell, but I've made the colors reddish on the trees right here. Yeah. So I'm going to sample some color from, I don't know, the red stuff right here. So I'm in my paintbrush and I just hold down Alt. Maybe that, kind of reddish. And on my tree layer, if I paint now, it's just going to go, let me turn the opacity back up. It's just going to go all over everything, right? But if I turn lock transparent pixels on, this, see over in the lock palette here, the first one looks like a little checkerboard. Now it'll only paint on the trees. Okay, so of course that's too intense. So I'm going to turn my opacity down to, I don't know, 20% or something. Big soft brush. Then I apparently didn't turn on lock transparent pixels. Oh, I guess when you undo, it forgets that. So I'm just doing a little bit of stuff there. Try some of the lighter color. All right, that might be it doesn't look perfect, partly because there's a bit of this island showing behind here, which kind of ruins the effect, but it's not bad. But when we put the lens flare on top, it'll look better. So, okay, I'm going to make a new layer. Okay, hit the new layer icon, and let's put the lens flare. See on here, there's this artifact because the sun's hitting the lens element directly, and create that. I could also go, I made a new layer underneath here. If you have more trees, it's probably not necessary to do this. Just brighten up the, I don't know if that's a good idea. All right, whatever, I'm just fumfering now. All right, I made a new layer anyway. If your trees cover the whole ocean, it'll solve that problem. Yeah, that's how I did it in this one. Anyway, all right, I made a new layer. So now lens flare, filter, render, lens flare. See, it won't work on an empty layer, okay? So you have to fill your layer with black, okay? So edit fill and change that to black, okay? So we covered our image with black, and then let's make the blending mode screen. So it only shows what's lighter than the background. And since black is darker than everything, nothing shows, right? But we can put a lens flare on that. So filter, render, lens flare. Now, it's a little bit annoying the way it's been like this forever in Photoshop, but it would be nice if you could see your image here so you could place it. But it's a little bit kind of like whack and wish where you have to keep retrying it until you get what you want. So let's see. So the I'm going to just use, you can click on these things for different types of lenses that would make different types of lens flares. This 105 millimeter prime is probably pretty cool for an outer space image, but just this zoom lens default one, it's kind of warm looking. It's probably going to work for this. All right, so if I put the dot thingy in the middle and a little bit above the, I mean, a little bit below the center line, right? Let's just see what it looks like. We can always redo it. Not bad. Okay, so that's it. You know, it usually I have to redo that a few times, but that doesn't look too bad. Oops. Actually, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Go back to here. Sorry. It remembers the one you did, but I'm going to just turn it down so it's not quite so bright. You can also just reduce the opacity of the layer afterwards. All right, so just save that as a JPEG, hand that thingy in. Okay, so pretty easy, I think.